not an instructional video. This is a rough guide. Have a professional do your brakes, aka if you wish to follow this and do your brakes yourself, don't sue me. Must have something caught my eye then. Just going to show you all the steps through it. It's pretty straightforward, but if in doubt, double check everything. If you're not sure, pick up the phone, call a professional. Obviously, if you mess this up, there's a lot of potential to cause a lot of damage, injury, someone might die. So yeah, we try and have a laugh in videos, but you need to take it seriously and don't skip through the video because every step is shown for a reason. First thing we're going to do, just going to crack that reservoir cap off. We're going to be pushing back the pistons in the caliper, and when you do that, obviously the fluid is going to move. So there's two ways of doing it. You can crack off the bleed nipple and let the fluid come out that way and then top up the brake fluid suit, or you can just crack the cap off and the fluid will slowly come back because we're going to wind it back in slowly. But manufacturers have min and max on the brake fluid reservoir. That's worked out as when all the brakes are brand new, the fluid level should be at the max. When all the brakes are at their lowest, the fluid level should be at their minimum. Now, some people in the trade, just because they get sick of explaining to customers why they haven't topped up their brake fluid, because customers go, well, you've done a half-assed job, they just top it up. I personally never do, because if you top up the brake fluid, when you then push the pistons back, the reservoir overflows. I've only recently bought this car for my wife, so I'm not sure if this has been topped up at all. The other reason why I personally don't top it up is you want to test the boiling point of brake fluid because it's a hydroscopic fluid. If you top it up in service, you've just mixed new fluid with old fluid. So the reading that you're getting with your tester isn't a true reading because you've just diluted it. So just in case, if you're not sure if yours is going to overflow or not, take a rag, soak it with water, and you just want to pop it underneath. If you spill any brake fluid at all, it will strip paint. So if you pour water on it, it will instantly neutralize it. So the wet rag just means if this overflows at all, it's then fine. Sorry, I forgot to mention before, make sure your handbrake is not on so that this turns. You want to take a flat blade, you want to pop this out here, and then the dust covers at the back. Next, you want to take your Allen key, remove that. Now, depending on how long your Allen key is, you might find that you can't get your ratchet and Allen key in because of the sway bar. So in that case, obviously use the conventional Allen key because it fits in easier. Take your flat blade, stick it between the caliper and the carrier. Just going to fold the caliper up over here. Get the old pads out. Take these two bolts out. Now, if you wash your car frequently and don't take it for a drive, you end up with surface rust building up here, which kind of holds the disc in place. If you're in the UK, you're definitely going to have to do this because everything likes to rust there. So the disc is a bit stuck. Best thing to do, just grab two wheel nuts, just loosely spin them on, and you want to take a dead blow hammer. So one with a plastic face, a copper hammer, a hide-faced hammer, not a normal steel hammer. We're going to tap this disc off. If you use a normal steel hammer, you have a risk of this shattering. I've seen it. It is very painful looking when someone gets bits of steel in their face. Obviously wear some safety glasses, and you want to tap from this side, so you would stand there, but this isn't going to come off, so I'm just going to tap it this way. So right side, rotate it. She's good. As you can see, there's some corrosion here. We want to have that completely clean because otherwise when the new disc goes on, it might not sit completely true and then you're going to get vibrations and it's going to warp. So you can just use a manual wire brush. I'm going to cheat and basically just clean all this up. Now I've got a new brake disc. Now, look, some manufacturers ship brake discs wrapped in like a rust-proof paper. Some of them coat them in oil. If in doubt, it's always best to clean it. So stick the brake disc on backwards, take a rag, some brake cleaner, wipe down the face. Hold this all the way flat against the hub, spin one wheel nut all the way on. This will just help keep it completely flat while we do the rest of the work. Next bit you would normally do over a bin, but my camera tripod won't go that high, so I'm just going to do it on this instead. You want to clean all the old brake dust off. Literally, your brake pads sit in these channels here. Just take a wire brush, give them a good clean. Now, obviously, the RS has painted ones, but these are machined and not painted, so that the pad rail sits in it. If you want, now's a good time to sit there and make it look fancy. Just clean all the brake dust off. Now the caliper carrier's all cleaned up, just bolt it back on again. Now we're on to pushing the piston back. Obviously, because it's painted, you don't want to scratch the caliper, so I like to just chuck a couple of rags in there. And you want to have the caliper sat sort of here, making sure that the brake line can flex, but you don't want it to be kinked. Alright? So give that a bit of a clean, make sure that the dust seal is in good nick and everything's nice and clean. Now there's two ways of doing this. You can use a tool specifically for it, or if you're in a bit of a pickle, you can use some long nose pliers. This piston needs to rotate clockwise whilst getting pushed down. If you just try and use a spreader tool and push it in, it's not going to work because it's got on a worm drive. Because there is no brake shoes in this, the handbrake operates through the brake caliper. So most of the time you can buy kits like this. They come with a left or a right hand thread. Make sure you get the right hand thread one. There's 2 pins and then it's an adapter key. This will just about fit in that, but it's not a good fit, so my one's just called an M on it, and you just want to slot it in. Perfect. We know that locks in. So these normally got like a magnet on them. Pop that in through there. Pop this bit in, and you want to get that and line it up until it slots in. Unwind this all the way, so this will turn and push it down, and you want to just slowly go around. As you can see, it's just starting to drop down. So this is where, when I was talking about earlier with the fluid, when this is happening, if someone's topped up the brake fluid, you're going to have fluid overflowing in the reservoir. You want to do this slowly so that you don't flip any seals wrong way round. And you want to keep an eye on this dust boot, that the piston is rotating and not snagging on the dust boot, because you don't want to tear it. Towards the end, that's when that dust boot tries to kind of flip up. So you just want to tuck it back in until it stops, and then wind this in and take your tool out. Bit more of a better view, so you can see there's your, sorry about the shadow, you can see your 2 pin marks there, and you can see that dust boot's just kind of flipped there, so we can just push it in. Beautiful. So that is all prepped and ready. So we'll tuck it back over here and we'll put the pads in. Now put some lube on these machine surfaces there, and there. Most brake pads come with its own lube. I'm chucking some Brembo standard road pads in this, and it comes with a little thing. So just cut the corner off, and you just want to squidge a little bit of it out. Get a dab with your finger. Now you want to make sure you don't get it on the brake disc. Put a little bit on there. If you do get any on the brake disc by mistake, just rotate the brake disc, clean it with some brake cleaner, and make sure it's all clean. You're going to need a little bit. And don't stress about getting it all the way to the edge, because we'll do that with the pad. Now with your pads, then sometimes labelled as inner or outer, but you always know because the bumps. So obviously that's not going to fit against the piston, so we know that's our outer, and this has the bumps here, so we know that's our inner one, right? So you just want to pop them in, and just to spread that lube, we just want to give it a wiggle back and forth like that. And a bit of a wiggle like that. Now on some pads, this is like an anti-squeal thing. If they don't have that, you can take some of that pad lube and you want to put it on the piston face of the caliper and then the two prong bits that sit here. That will just help reduce brake squeal and brake noise. That's also why, look at the pad, it's got that chamfer. It's to stop there being a sharp edge to reduce brake noise. Now this type of caliper design, these are stainless and this is rubber. Some have actual slides that have got like a rubber boot on it and you need to lubricate them, whereas these, they're not meant to be lubed. Ford don't tell you to lube them. So you just want to pop them out and you get a bit of a rubber build-up sometimes. You just want to clean that up with a wire brush, just so that it doesn't snag, so that that moves nice and freely. Pop them back into your caliper, but just the tip's sticking out. Now ensuring that you haven't twisted the brake line, which is pretty hard to do given the handbrake cables on there. You just want to take your caliper over to here. And you want to push this down evenly, because there is a spring, so you want it to go down evenly. With one hand, just push it down. And just start that turning. You can just use the Allen key just to start it. Right, checking the spring's all good. Do the same with the bottom. And now torque them up. Pop your dust covers back on. Now we've got access to this, give that a little bit of a clean. And now we just have our spring to fit back in. So these two prongs obviously go in the holes. I personally find it easiest to put the bottom one in, put the top one in, and whilst using the palm of your hand to keep this one from popping out and your thumb on here to keep it in the hole, just kind of tweak it round so it sits there. I'm going to give the caliper a good bit of movement, check everything as it is, and then with either like the back side of the wooden handle of your hammer or a screwdriver, just check that's all the way in, and there you go. Do the other side. Now, one of the last things that people forget, man, it's just one of those things. I've seen mechanics do it. I've had a close call once when I was an apprentice. After you've done all the brakes, pump the brake pedal. The first time you push that pedal, it's just going to drop to the floor and you're going to have no brakes whatsoever. So before you drive anywhere, pump the brake pedal. We're going to jump back out, check that that brake reservoir level is correct, and then we can go for a road test, bed your brakes in.